I can't believe what's happening in Ashburn right now. While everyone was focused on contracts and injuries, the real revolution of the Commanders is happening where no one expected. A veteran offensive lineman just made a decision that's left the entire organization rethinking its strategy. But that's nothing compared to what's happening with two rookies who are redefining this franchise's expectations. If you thought you knew this team, you're completely wrong. We've got a cornerback who was a first-round pick and now has national analysts talking about him like he's the next big deal in Burgundy and Gold, and just when you thought we were done, here's a 7th-round running back who's making established players look like amateurs in padded practices. But you know what's the craziest part of all this? These three stories are connected in a way that's going to completely change how we see the 2025 Commanders. Stay tuned till the end, because the last news is going to blow your minds and show you why Adam Peters is an absolute genius. This is completely unexpected. Nate Herbig, at 27, just shook up the entire Commanders organization with a decision that no one saw coming. Dan Quinn officially announced that the veteran offensive lineman has been placed on the reserve list due to retirement, and I'm telling you, this news has layers that go much deeper than it seems on the surface. Let me give you some context. Herbig is not just any player. This guy came to the team as a free agent this offseason with the promise of being a key piece for adding depth to our improved offensive line. The Commanders were counting on him as a reliable option that could play multiple positions. Exactly what he had done during his 6 years in the NFL, and now what? He retires before taking one single snap with the franchise. Imagine signing a contract, going through the entire offseason process, getting to training camp, and then deciding no, this isn't for me. It's absolutely wild. Let's recap this man's career because it's important to understand what we're losing, or maybe what we're avoiding. Herbig entered the league in 2019 with the Philadelphia Eagles, where he established himself as a versatile and reliable player. Over 3 seasons in Philly, he started 17 games and showed he could play guard, tackle, and center, depending on the team's needs. He was exactly the type of utility player every offensive coordinator dreams of having. In 2022, he moved to New York with the Jets for 1 season, where he maintained that same adaptable role. Then, he came to Pittsburgh in 2023, where he appeared in 17 games and seemed to be in a good moment in his career. But then 2024 hit, and that's when things got rough. A rotator cuff injury kept him out the whole season. Do you understand what that means for a 27-year-old offensive lineman? It's devastating. The offensive line is a position where strength, technique, and physical confidence are absolutely crucial. After missing a full year due to a shoulder injury, Herbig probably arrived in Washington knowing this was his chance to prove he could still compete at the highest level. But here's what I think really happened. Herbig got to Ashburn, saw the level of competition, evaluated honestly where he stood physically after that injury, and realized his days as a regular contributor in the NFL were over. And you know what? I respect that decision. Look, the organization hasn't given specific details about why he retired, but it's not hard to read between the lines. The Commanders' offensive line is in the best shape we've seen in years. We have younger, hungrier, and probably more physically capable players competing for those depth spots. Nick Allegretti now becomes a more prominent backup option at guard behind the starters. Allegretti is younger, has had more recent success, and frankly, probably better represents what Dan Quinn and this organization are trying to build. And is Adam Peters worried about this? Not at all. This is exactly the type of natural cleaning that happens when you build a real culture of competition. Players who can't or won't compete at the highest level eliminate themselves from the process. Herbig's departure also tells us something important about the mentality of this organization. Under Peters and Quinn, we're not going to keep players out of sentimentality or to fill roster spots. Every position is going to be earned, and if you can't compete or don't want to, there's the door. This clears a spot on the 90-man roster for training camp, and I guarantee that Peters already has some names in mind to fill that position, whether through free agency or promoting someone else from the practice squad. But do you want to know what excites me most about this situation? It shows that the culture is really changing. In past years, we would have probably kept Herbig on the roster just in case or because we needed bodies. Now we have higher standards. I'm telling you, this is historic. What Trey Amos is doing in Ashburn is not just impressive for rookie standards. It's making national analysts like Steve Wyche of NFL Network and Brian Baldinger talk about our practices like we're a premium destination. When was the last time you heard that about the Commanders? Exactly. First, let's talk about the context because this story is absolutely cinematic. Trey Amos was projected as a first-round pick, by practically every draft analyst. This Ole Miss cornerback had all the tools, perfect size at 6'1", the speed to stay with any receiver, and the technique he developed under Lane Kiffin in a program that consistently produces NFL talent. But then the pre-draft medicals came, and a back issue appeared, not something catastrophic, not something career-ending, but enough to scare teams in the early rounds. And so, pick after pick, Amos watched his dream fade as less talented cornerbacks were selected before him. And guess who was there waiting like a shark in deep waters? Adam Peters. Our GM didn't hesitate for a second to end that dramatic fall. At pick 61 of the second round, Peters saw a golden opportunity and seized it without hesitation. Now, months after that draft disappointment, Amos is proving that all those teams that passed on him made a massive mistake. Steve Wyche visited our facilities in Ashburn and was so impressed that he's been talking about Amos on national programs. Do you know what that means? It means this rookie is not just meeting expectations, he's destroying them. Brian Baldinger, a former offensive lineman turned analyst, who has literally seen thousands of players over decades, is fascinated with what he sees. Baldinger says Amos looks so confident and specifically notes how the rookie can use his hands to press receivers, how he can run with anyone, and how he's seizing every opportunity against the receivers we have on the roster. But here's the part that's got me super excited. Baldinger wants to see Amos face off against Terry McLaurin once Terry returns from his ankle injury and his contract situation is resolved. Do you understand what that means? A national analyst wants to see our second-round rookie compete against one of the best receivers in the entire league. That's real respect. Fred Smoot, who knows a thing or two about playing cornerback around here, has been watching Amos and says something I find crucial. He's not a talker, but he's confident. This is exactly what you want in a young cornerback. He doesn't need to talk trash or put on a show for the cameras. His game speaks for him. And speaking of the game, let's break down exactly why Amos fits perfectly into what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. want to do with this defense. Quinn has had success with cornerbacks who have a certain physical profile, big, long, aggressive, capable of playing both man and zone coverage, and who never shy away from a physical challenge. Amos has exactly those traits. At 6'1", with long arms, he has the size to take on those big receivers that dominate the league now. He has the speed to keep up with the speedsters. And more importantly, he has that "you're not going to beat me" mentality that separates good cornerbacks from great ones. But here's the really crazy part. Reports indicate that Amos is not just competing for the starting spot alongside Marshon Lattimore, he's winning that competition. Jonathan Jones is a veteran with 2 Super Bowl rings, a guy who has played in the biggest moments of football. And this rookie is making it seem like Jones is the one trying not to lose his job. Imagine what this means for our defense. We're going to have Marshon Lattimore, a 4-time Pro Bowl cornerback, on one side, and on the other side, we're going to have a hungry rookie with something to prove to all those teams that passed on him in the draft. That combination can be lethal. And don't forget the broader context here. While our division rivals are struggling with cornerbacks who are old, injured, or overpaid, we're developing a future All-Pro who is going to cost us almost nothing against the salary cap. For the next 4 years, the Dallas Cowboys are paying fortunes for cornerbacks who are past their prime. The Philadelphia Eagles are crossing their fingers, hoping their veterans stay healthy. The New York Giants, well, we don't even know what the Giants are doing. And in the meantime, we have a rookie who's got national analysts talking about him as if he's the next big thing. This is absolutely amazing. If someone had told me 6 months ago that a 7th-round pick, the 245th overall, would have John Keane from ESPN saying he's the player he's most intrigued to see during the preseason, I would have thought they were crazy. But here we are. And Jacory Krosky-Merritt is completely rewriting what it means to be a late-round pick on this team. Let's start from the beginning, because this story is absolutely wild. Krosky-Merritt shouldn't be here. He shouldn't have this opportunity. He shouldn't be making established veterans look like amateurs in practice. But do you know why he's here? Because of a series of circumstances that can only be described as destiny. This guy was in Arizona, playing at an elite level, when the NCAA decided to review his eligibility and ended up revoking it. Boom, out of nowhere, his college career ended, his draft stock plummeted. The scouts who had been following him stopped paying attention. It was as if he had vanished from the football map. But Adam Peters doesn't erase players from his radar so easily. Our GM had seen the tapes from Arizona, had seen the violence with which Krosky Merritt ran, had noticed that decisiveness in his cuts that separates the good running backs from the great ones. And when the 7th round came, and this talent was still available, Peters had no hesitation in taking a gamble on him now. Months after that pick that many considered a flyer, Krosky Merritt is making everyone realize why Peters is considered one of the best talent evaluators in the league. The first big test came when padded practices began. Until then, Krosky Merritt had shown flashes during non-contact drills, good cuts, good vision, promising explosiveness, but running back without pads, that doesn't mean anything. The true evaluation of a running back comes when the pads go on, and the real hits start. And do you know what happened on the first padded day? Krosky Merritt dominated it. He didn't just meet expectations, he completely destroyed them. Every carry he had was a masterclass in running back technique. His cuts weren't just decisive, they were explosive. When he hit the hole, there was no hesitation, no doubts. It was pure directional violence. But what impressed me the most was how he handled contact. Tyler Owens, who's improving a lot at safety and isn't exactly a small player, found himself meeting Krosky Merritt in the second level during one of those carries. And what happened when they met? The collision bounced off Krosky Merritt like nothing. This 5'10" rookie absorbed an NFL safety's hit and kept running as if he'd been touched by a feather. John Keane from ESPN, who's been covering this team for years and has seen hundreds of rookies come and go, is completely intrigued. In a recent interview with 106.7 The Fan, Keane said something that gave me goosebumps. It's really hard to evaluate without pads what he can do, but you see the decisive cuts on film. You saw the violent nature of his runs. Watching him run some pass routes, he looks pretty good. Do you understand what that means coming from someone like Keane? This man has seen everything. He's covered Super Bowls, been to countless training camps, evaluated talent for decades, and he's saying that this 7th round rookie is the player he's most excited to watch during the preseason. But here's what really excites me. Krosky Merritt is not just a running back, he's a weapon. Reports indicate his receiving skills out of the backfield are genuinely impressive. He can run routes, catch passes in traffic, create mismatches against linebackers who are too slow, or safeties who are too small. Imagine what Cliff Kingsbury can do with a player like this. Kingsbury, who's built explosive offensive careers using versatile running backs, now has a rookie who can literally do everything. Need yards on the ground? Krosky Merritt can do that. Need a safety valve on 3rd down? He can do that too. Want to create confusion with motion and shifts? This guy can line up in the backfield, in the slot, or out wide and be effective in any position. And let's talk about the broader context here because it's important. We have Brian Robinson Jr., established as our bell cow back, young, physical, reliable. We have Austin Eckler as our veteran, bringing experience and receiving skills. But what were we missing? We were missing that X factor. That player who can come in and completely change the offense's dynamics. Krosky Merritt is emerging as exactly that. He's not just depth, he's a legitimate threat that's going to force defensive coordinators to prepare specifically for him. When was the last time we could say that about a 3rd running back? And the mindset, forget about IT. This guy came here with a chip on his shoulder the size of Texas. He lost his college eligibility for reasons beyond his control. He watched less talented running backs get picked before him. He arrived at an NFL training camp knowing this might be his only chance to prove he belongs at this level. That hunger, that desperation to prove everyone wrong is exactly what turns late-round picks into success stories. And with every practice that passes, with every carry he takes, Krosky Merritt is building the case that Adam Peters found another diamond in the rough. I'm telling you this. The 2025 Commanders look nothing like the teams we've suffered through in the past years. We have a defense that's going to scare offenses, a solid offensive line, and now real depth in key positions with players who have something to prove. Do you think Herbig retired because he didn't want to compete against this level of talent? Do you think Amos is going to start from day one against the Giants? And what do you think about Krosky Merritt being our secret weapon in special packages? Leave me your answers in the comments because I need to know what you think about this total transformation. If you're as excited as I am about what Peters is building, give this video a like. If you think we finally have a serious organization, Subscribe because tomorrow we'll have more explosive news from this franchise. That's completely changing. You're part of this Burgundy and Gold family, and together we're going to live every moment of this season that could be historic. And remember, hail to the Redskins!